Anyway, we're not here to talk about the miracle of TCP/IP stack. We're here to talk about James Rose and his Content Snare platform, and also probably more specifically, we're here to talk about actually this age-old problem of actually getting content from your clients. I haven't put my my video camera on, my webcam, just because we all know what I look like, and I'm just some bloke with a head. So
I even wore my WordCamp shirt
go on,
for the
then.
occasion. No, it's all right.
Okay, let's not. A quick rejection. We're here to talk about that thorny problem. If you're watching this on a replay, no doubt you understand this problem. And if you're in with us live, thank you. There's a few of us here.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, we've all been there. Trying to get things out of clients can be like trying to get blood out of the proverbial brick. And I suffer from it. I still suffer from it. I've literally, as we were waiting to start, I got an email from a guy that I'm working with who is refusing to give me content. So this is real. So James Rose, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Nathan. This is really cool.
Yeah. We're going to just let James take over the screen and put some slides up and talk about things. Right. There'll be a little section at the end where he can take some questions and answers. And if we wrap up sooner, so be it.
So while you ducked off to make your coffee and I poured myself a new port because it's currently 7 p.m. here, nice. I actually uploaded the slides to this platform, and we'll see how that works. Can you see the slide there?
I can.
Wow,
Vaughn, Rico, can you see those? Or maybe you're just not with us, but I can see them.
But this is let's give it a go.
Yes.
Cool. So we obviously know the problem then, as you've already outlined. So there's a story I always like to tell about this client we had that it started off as a really simple website, like that's in air quotes. I don't have the camera on right now, but really simple website. But yeah, but you know what? This one it was a template, single page site. It was pretty obvious what needed to be done. And we decided on a template, and we said, okay, this is the content we need for that template. You've just got to go through, and everywhere there's words on that template, then give us some content for it, right? But we chased them for like 2 months, and nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. And then they finally went, oh, here's some content, and it didn't fit. And we were like, that's not it. That doesn't. What are you looking at? Like, was it? We needed to fit this template. And then we didn't hear from them for another month or so, and suddenly this new marketing dude started, and so I've been handed off from the founder who I was talking to before, and the first thing he did was send us through a whole bunch of new content, which still didn't fit.
Yay!
And we were like, "What is going on?" And and anyway, eventually we build this template, and it comes back, and it was the wrong template, because somewhere in that massive email trail of chasing them up and random responses, there was one line at the bottom of some email buried in content where they said, we want to actually change to this other template.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. So, and, I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced something like this, right? When you have these enormous email trails, it's very easy for little things like that to get lost. But in this case, it was a little thing that was actually quite enormous for the job, right? Anyway, so we rebuilt the website on this new template. Normally I wouldn't do that, but it was kind of like they're sort of friends of mine, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I don't care. Anyway, so we finish it up, and it gets sent back to the marketing guy, who sends it to the founder, and the founder goes, where's my content? But that's not the content I wrote. And it turned out that the other guy, the new marketing guy, didn't know the founder had written the content, and now we've got the wrong content in the website.
This is the definition of a smooth running project.
Oh, absolutely, right. And there's definitely our own fault in this, right? But at the same time, this isn't an isolated case. Mm-hmm. Things like this happen in varying forms. This is probably a nightmarish example, but it's the kind of thing we've all had to deal with, and that's why we've kind of made it a mission to fix this, because it's a problem that every web agency seems to deal with, every digital agency. So yeah, this is my talk: getting content from clients and streamlining the process to save stress and time. And the idea is to get the right content on time without these massive email trails and things getting lost and not having responsibility on the client and that sort of thing. And I'm not only talking about Content Snare today. The plan is to sort of give you a framework that you can use in any tool, and even show you some other tools that you can use.
Great.
Sweet. So let's get into it, shall we?
Indeed.
Cool. So we already know who this talk for. I've covered that. Anyone who's over to clients taking freaking forever to send client content. You don't need. Oh yeah. So this are the things we're going to cover. The reasons why clients stall, because that's kind of important to understand, in my opinion, because then you know why, and you're doing all the things we're doing to fix this. How we're going to fix it, and my favorite tools for that. Who I am, I've been around just in case, like, I kind of feel like I need to prove myself that I'm actually a person that I can talk about this stuff. But I've been in the web design space since about 2014. We've had software businesses in the past and sold them. We've had done web app development, mobile app development, and now we're sort of focusing on Content Snare. So I've been in this game for a little while, and I've learned a thing or two. So hopefully that gives me a little bit of credit.
It does. It really does. I think that stuff matters.
Yeah, that's. Oh, yeah. I hope that. Yeah. Anyway. Cool. Let's get into it. Number one, the first thing I want to talk about is why clients stall, and it's pretty simple, right? There's three major reasons. The first one being they just forget, because we're all extremely busy people. You know, we get a hard task like content. If someone asks us to write a whole bunch of content, it's probably going to end up at the bottom of the pile. It's the kind of thing we're just going to go, you know what? I don't want to do that right now. And most people don't have very good sort of to-do systems and to-do lists. So it's going to get buried in their inbox or whatever, and they're just going to forget about it. So yeah, pretty easy problem to get around, which we'll cover soon. Number two, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people making, because obviously we speak to a lot of people that are trying to get content from clients because we have a platform for it. So we've sort of learned what people are and aren't doing that's causing problems. And this one's huge, that clients can't visualize as well as you. And by that, I mean, if you are building a website for someone, and you are in a meeting or whatever, and you're talking to them about what the site's going to look like, you've got this picture already formulating in your mind. Like, you can see that it's going to have a hero header with a background and a button or whatever. You know, you can visualize all this stuff, but they can't. Some clients might have an idea, but many of them don't, especially not to the level you do, right? Like, it's just an ability we pick up after being in the web for so long. So that's one thing we're going to talk about, how to get past. And finally, they don't know where to start.
I like that, actually. I was looking at that thinking, it's gone real old English here, hasn't it? That's good.
Indeed. I'm going to use that opportunity to have a sip of my port. Yeah, so they don't know where to start or what to write. And this is the classic blank screen problem. If you've ever sat down to watch write a blog post or, website copy, anything, and you write the heading, homepage or something, and then you just get stuck, right? Because you're staring at a blank screen.
Yeah.
These guys don't know the land of the web as well as us, so they don't even know where to start with writing. So we're going to cover that as well. All right, so this is kind of like a little bonus thing that I like to talk about sometimes at the start in setting expectations for content, and by that I mean making sure the client understands it's their responsibility, if it's going to be their responsibility. So do I actually have a slide on that? I do. Okay, so, and this is what I mean. So there's a few places where you can talk to your clients about the fact that it's their responsibility. And the first one is in the very beginning in your client onboarding. So that might be a little brief or a form that you have on your website to kick off the project. And in there, you could have a little box that says, do you have your content ready? And there might be some options like, yeah, just take it from our current website, or no, and I'll need some help, which can be a little opportunity to upsell them. And no, and I will be taking care of it, or someone on my team will be taking care of it. This is up to you. It depends who your clients are, what your process is like, but that's a good place to start getting them thinking about content. And I know some people have a working with us page. Some people call it an intro packet. I believe that Aaron Flynn coined that term. Yeah, so the intro packet where she sends them some information about their process, right? So some people might just have this is our process page, and in there you make it really obvious that you need the content before design or before development, whatever your process looks like. So next we go into the meeting. So if you have an initial meeting with the client, it's a good time to mention it. You can cover the same kind of questions and gauge whether they were open to potentially you guys handling the content and upselling them. If you have a partnership with a content writer, that was a potential upsell for that client. And finally, in the proposal itself, or the contract, whatever you want to call this, some people do them in one document like we did. And the key here is not burying it as one line inside a massive terms and conditions that no one's going to read. We like to have a front page, very easy to read, dot points. These are all the things you need to know. And what I like to say is that, and this is in the initial meeting too, is that pretty much every single project we have that is delayed because of content.
Yep.
When you say that kind of thing, it gets their attention. So that is what I normally say. And in the proposal, a little trick we used to say is that we do not commit to any dates until we have the initial deposit paid and we have all your content.
Nice.
Yeah. So and that is when your site would enter the development queue. That's what we said. Maybe it depends on your process whether that will fly with your clients, but that's how we used to operate. We just said, look, if you delay the content, then it's just going to push back when we even start on your website. We're not going to start at all until we've got it.
That's good. I like that.
And then we always used to use the same clause for design feedback and stuff too. It's like you've got 3 business days for feedback, and if we don't get it in that time, then we put it on pause until we get the feedback, and then that's when you go back into the queue.
Yep.
So it's the kind of thing that just makes the client go, holy crap, I better get this stuff sorted.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bit harsh, and I mean, some people might not be comfortable doing that with their clients, and it really depends on your price points and that kind of stuff. But that was our thing. We said that if this is how we keep our prices where they are, is by always working. So if you're delaying us, then we have to put it back. It's that simple.
Yeah, I guess it's also in the language as well, isn't it? If you particularly choose, I don't know, a kind of confrontational verbs and things, you can annoy people, but I'm sure that exact same sentence could be worded in quite a polite way and offend nobody.
Yeah,
good idea.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. All right, so let's get to that first problem of clients forgetting what they need to do, and it's a really simple solution. It's remind them, duh.
Yeah, good.
And you can also do this through reminding yourself to check in with clients. And so that screenshot there is just a little, I don't know if you can even read that on my screen.
I can.
Very small.
Yep.
But it's very simple follow-up schedule that's built into Content Snare to say things like, send an email after you send the request, and then relative to the due date, you might say if it's a week away, send them like an urgent email, 2 days, be like, come on, we really need it.
Yep.
And whatever. So that's basic email sequence, but there's a few other ways you can do this. And one of my favorites is a simple old calendar. And this is a technique called time blocking. So in the screenshot there, you can see that there's just a couple of hours set aside for hassling clients once a week on a Thursday or whatever time, whatever day that works for you. And you just put this time aside to check in with all your projects and see which ones are stalled, whether that's because of content, because of design, feedback, because of whatever it is, and to email your clients. You might even double up here with just updates to all your clients. even if there is no progress, you might just email them to say, look, this is what everything's at. This is what we're waiting on, just to keep that communication going with your clients. Time blocking is a really cool productivity technique.
Yep.
What have we got next? Is project management system. So there's a few ways this can work. I'm generally not a big fan of this, of getting your clients into the project management system and actually setting them tasks with reminders, because I find it's just another system clients have to learn, especially when they've got to log in, which is why with Content Snare, we were so big on making a simple client interface where they don't have to log in, because I haven't had a lot of luck with getting clients to use project management systems. And I can tell you, whenever I'm working with a designer or something to build stuff for Content Snare, and they try and invite me to a specialized Slack channel or project management system, I'm like, I don't need this. There's another system that I don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, in effect, it's more things to stop them giving you the content in a way, isn't it? More impediments.
Yep, absolutely. But how you can use project management is to remind yourself again. So if you have a task to follow up or to get content from someone, this screenshot here is teamwork, and you can actually set multiple reminders. You do have to do it manually on each task, but you could create like maybe a task per week for the or a reminder per week for the next 4 weeks, and just to make sure you check in. I think time blocking is a better option, but I just like to present this as an option. Yeah. What project management system do you use, Nathan?
I'm using a system called Plutio. I've got two, actually. I've got Plutio, plus I use a self-hosted thing called Pancake, which is just a PHP script that I bought online several years ago. But I'm phasing it all across to Plutio, which I really like.
Very good.
And it works for me. It's got things that it doesn't have, but I've managed to bend it to my will.
Yeah, very good.
And I'm the calendar guy primarily. If I use a project management tool, it all ends up in Google Calendar. That's
cool.
That's the way I like to do it. And I'm also a big phone user. I'm quite good at picking up the phone and pestering. Can I speak to? In this case, it's going to be, can I speak to Tom? That's going to be when we finish this call, and just say to Tom, hey, Tom, what's going on? And that seems to work quite well. Tom suddenly feels a certain redness in his face because he hasn't managed to give me what I asked him for 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why sometimes we actually put a feature into Content Snare to CC some emails to yourself for exactly this reason. This was a feature request we got a long time ago, so people can see what emails are going to their clients, and that automatically reminds them to go, oh, yeah, I should probably check in.
Yeah. Because another trick which I've often used is I find out in the client meeting right at the beginning, I try to get a few senior emails, and then I CC them in when the emails get progressively more kind of, I'm just getting fed up now. Yes. And I start to put those bosses in, and that, I don't know if that actually works, but that's
a great, I love that. I've not tried it. You're the first person I've spoken to that's mentioned that, and I love it. It's like,
well, it kind of gets, especially if the email line says something like, for the third time this week, would it be possible, please? Yeah. And then some boss reads it and, look, guy, lift your finger. We've paid for this.
Get something done. Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. All right. So I love this tool. I like to joke that if you get nothing else out of this webinar, that this is worth it. Follow up then is amazing. I use this constantly for pretty much everything that's not even content related. So what it allows you to do, there's an example in the screenshot there where this is a very simple reminder. If you just emailed 5 p.m. at follow up, then it'll bounce back that email to you at 5 p.m. But the trick is BCC. So this is pretty much all I use. So if I send an email to a client, or let's say I was trying to line up a joint venture with someone, and because they forget stuff too, right? And some people aren't great at responding to emails. So I might BCC 2 weeks at followupthen.com, and it'll actually bounce that email back to me in 2 weeks. It's mostly free. There's a $5 version, which allows you to do response detection. So I can go 2 weeks -R at followupthen.com. The -R means response detection. And if that person actually responds to me, then it cancels that follow-up.
I use a system called Active Inbox, which hooks into Gmail or G Suite, whatever you've got. It's a Chrome extension, and that's one of the features that it offers. Similar idea. You just put a date on it, and it comes back into your inbox. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there are a lot of tools for this. The reason I like this one is there's absolutely no extensions or different things. So no matter what computer I'm on, if I'm on my mobile, I can do it. Just using that BCC address. CC also will bounce that reminder back to you and your client, but I just find that's not very personal.
That's a nice trick. Like it.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it for $5. $5 a month. It's one of my most used tools, absolutely, because I use it to follow up on proposals, JVs, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
it's one of probably the best $5 I spend. Now we get into email automation. Now this is a tricky one because it can be tempting to just start automating things without really testing if stuff works first. So if you set up an email automation system to blast your client with emails, it's probably not going to work very well unless it's set up well and you know what works for your clients. So this is ActiveCampaign. You can do something like trigger an automation based on a date, or you could drop them in manually or via API, whatever you like. And then you could trigger to send them an email to say, please send me content. A little awesome thing I like to do in here is actually provide them some helpful instructions on how to write content inside these emails, which is actually one of the problems we're going to get into soon. So and in ActiveCampaign, you can also do loops, essentially. So you could say at the bottom of this automation here, you could say go to the top again and just have it like loop through some kind of reminder email once a week until you drop them out later or do it through automation tools. ActiveCampaign's amazing. You can do a lot of powerful stuff with it, but that's like a whole topic in itself.
I get lost in it all. I just can't remember what I've set up and can't remember what loop is connecting to what loop. And it's hard for me to keep hold of that.
There's almost an art in that, right? Like, and I'm about to go through. In fact, it's on my list for tomorrow to go through and set up, like, rejig all my automations, because I've come up with a really cool process, what I think anyway, to have automations hand off. That's what I'm going to call it, is like hand off the contact to another automation. And that's how I'm going to build the whole thing out of small automations that hand off to other ones. So I'm gonna experiment with this. I'm actually an ActiveCampaign consultant, so I'm supposed to know my way around it. Yeah.
I can see another webinar coming up.
Absolutely. Oh man, I could talk about automation all day. I was just talking about putting together a Zapier course as well, because that's like my favorite tool. ActiveCampaign and Zapier together are just amazing. Like I basically built a refer a friend system instead of paying for some other software using ActiveCampaign and Zapier together to sort of increment scores and stuff for people in ActiveCampaign. So it's you can do some very powerful stuff.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, so let's move on to the next problem, in that they can't visualize. So this is the one I was saying that most people, it's very easy to forget that your clients can't visualize the same way as you. But the thing is, this is a really easy problem to handle by just showing them wireframes and mockups.
Yep.
I'll just quickly check the next slide. Yeah, so that's this example here is just a very generic wireframe. And the thing is, you can use this across multiple clients. You could have a set of, say, 5 different headers that are pretty much going to cover most of them, right? Like they might not be exactly what fit that new client exactly, but it helps them visualize. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is the fact that you can reuse this stuff. You don't have to do wireframes or mockups for every client. You can just have a set that you show, if you think these guys are going to have this particular header where there's an image on the right and some heading and text and some buttons on the left, you send this to them as part of your content request and say, this is what the header is going to look like, and this is the text that we need to fit that. And that's what that next slide is all about. Going the next level, you can actually label that stuff and say, I need a headline, a subheadline, and a button text. And then you can have fields for that below, which we'll get into shortly.
Is that there?
Yeah,
Is that just a JPEG? Is that an image within Content Snare showing something that you mocked up and then took a screen grab of it, kind of thing?
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So at this point, you cannot overlay content on top of a wireframe, but this is something we are looking at adding in the future, kind of like a design feedback tool, but for content. Yeah. That is a pipe dream, I guess. It's not a pipe dream. It's going to happen. I just don't know when. So, in fact, our UX guys, a good friend of ours, mutual friend, Mr. Paul Lacey.
Oh, we love Paul.
Indeed. Dicky Birds are currently looking at our UX for the client's view to make it as easy as possible. And that includes in the future, potentially a hotspot type system. So that will be super cool when we have that going.
Yep.
But yeah, so this makes it very easy for your client to see what it's going to look like in the final version. And that makes it just so much easier to get content. So actually,
I think the main thing there is like, that's a picture of Content Snare. So the thing that the area where you're trying to get the content the client to supply you the content is the place where that picture is. So there's no disconnect,
Yeah, and I hope I've got the slides in here, but I will get into a couple of the tools shortly. The other ways you can get this to happen. Oh yeah, I do. These are slides in the future, because this is obviously a Content Snare screenshot, but you do not need Content Snare for this. You can do this with any system. All right, so this is the third problem, and no idea where to start. And there's two, this kind of ties into the last problem in that we want to create some structure and some guidance here, right? So we covered structure in that we're breaking up those wireframes into like items of content that you need. So that header, we need a background image, we need a headline, we need a sub-headline, all that sort of stuff. So that's taking it one step to breaking up this blank screen problem so they know what they need to provide. But taking it the next level is actually providing some guidance, like how to actually write copy. I know that sounds pretty intense because we're not copywriters, but there are plenty of guides out there on how to write copy, and this is actually something we've put a bit of work into with Content Snare because we've learned that this is the stuff that needs to happen. We've actually built some templates in with those wireframes. Oh, sorry. Before I forget, back on those wireframes. So you don't have to make these things yourself. There's actually, if you search like website wireframe packs, people have done this already. So you can, there's like platformer.ws and there's one on Code Canyon. So you can literally screenshot these things and send them to your clients. They come in like sketch files or Adobe files. So you can edit them if need be. In Content Snare, we just have some images that you can send through, like built-in templates.
I just use Beaver Builder rows with grayscale everything. That kind of works for me, and then I can point them to a page full of rows.
That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. A lot of people aren't even doing wireframes anymore because you can just mock it up directly
straight to the browser. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you can have some options there that are already pretty close to what they're going to end up having. All right. So back to guidance. So you can see here in this Google document that I've got in the screenshot, we have some contact details and some emails. And the key here is having that little bit of text in between just saying emails and where they're typing in their emails. In that case, that's just a 1-by-1 table. So it kind of looks like a field. And having a bit of guidance on how to actually provide the content. If you need whatever, like if you need a headline, put some instructions in there on how to write a headline, which is what I'm going to get into now. So if you just send them this, right, you're saying, okay, I need a service 1 heading and a service 1 blurb. They don't know where to write. They don't know what to write. They don't know where to start. If you send them this, where you say a headline's super important, you write it with 6 to 12 words. It's got to be attention grabbing, no fluff. Focus on a benefit, blah, blah, blah. And then, so in this case, you can't actually see it there because it's not linked. But in the new template, it says at the bottom there, if you're stuck for ideas, read this guide. So we actually link out to another guide, which is like a big thing on how to write a good headline, because they're important, right? If they need more info. So that's a much better way to present this to clients.
Yeah, you're giving them the responsibility, plus you're giving them the knowledge and the expertise at the same time. Nice.
Yeah. And it's quite generic.
Yep.
So you can reuse this. Once you've done this once, you reuse this on all your clients, right? So if you've got a pretty standard homepage template set up, that might get you 80% of the way there with future clients. So you spend a few minutes modifying it for each client, and that's going to save you hours later. Right?
Yes. Is there a possibility in Content Snare then to sort of duplicate the entire project? So let's say this is website A over here for this company, and it almost is exactly the same as website B for this company. Is there a button to press and the whole thing just, we've got it done, and now we go in and tweak?
Sort of. So we don't duplicate, but we have a template system. So you can save individual sections. So you might have a hero header as a section, and that might be complete with a screenshot, a wireframe, and and a headline with instructions and a sub headline with instructions.
Got it.
You save all that as a template, or you can save the entire page as a template, or you can save the entire website as a template.
In effect, the same thing, different wording, but yeah. Great.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Right, so here's some different tools, the actual tools for content collection. So the first one is web forms. So you're probably familiar with Gravity. Everyone knows Gravity in the WordPress space, I think, because it's amazing. Then you've got Ninja Forms, and then other hosted solutions like Typeform and Google Forms. Now, I find these are best for when you've got really templated stuff. So if you are doing like turnkey websites, I believe the term is, or
it's becoming the term, yeah.
Yeah, so you've just got like, this is what you get. It's going to be this template. I've set up a form with all the fields for the content you need to type in. Here's the form, do it. If you need to get customized, they're kind of a bit of a pain because you've got to create new ones and embed them again and whatever. But the other problem is the save and continue, like the ability for a client to fill this out in multiple sittings isn't great, I find. It's like Gravity does have that save and continue later option. I've had a lot of problems with that in the past, and clients not even know how to use it, how to find. Yeah. So they can work. I just don't think they're ideal. They have their place though.
It's more hassle than a SaaS product, isn't it? Because you log in or whatever, and there it is. You go to the same URL. I agree. I know exactly what you mean, the problem with that.
Yeah. So then next one, one of the, I guess, most used ones is Google Docs. So Google Docs is nice because it's collaborative. It's you can see the changes as they're happening. You can add comments and discuss things. So it's quite a nice solution. Obviously you can use Microsoft Word or whatever the Mac equivalent is, but then you've got to pass the file backwards and forwards, which kind of sucks. So I prefer Google Docs in this case, and you obviously can paste in wireframes or mockups images inside, just like you would in those examples I gave prior. You don't need Content Snare. those examples were Content Snare, but right below that main headline, you could have a screenshot and some wording on how to write a headline. This is the problem. I tried to highlight the problem with Google Docs here, and I pretty much guarantee that every web designer is familiar with this. When it's open content and people can highlight things and do whatever the hell they want and paste in images.
Cornucopia of interesting stuff. I like the bullet pointed image there. That's great.
Yeah, but you know what? This is stuff that's actually happened to us. This was clearly an example that I've mocked up, but at the same time, this is not even close to the worst that we've got from clients. And I was interviewing web designers quite a long time ago when we were planning Content Snare, and a few people sent me documents that their clients had actually sent them, and oh man, it was so funny.
That actually is more work. Right there is more work on picking the mess of what's been written. I think it'll work, and you open yourself up to extra time on picking it.
Yeah, and these are the two biggest problems of time wasted chasing content. It's the actual chasing and the sorting through crap to make it usable, and to filter through these email trails to find like small bits here and there and piece it all together. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir. We all know this. We've been there. But yeah, so obviously, finally, we've got Content Snare, which is a purpose-built platform. So this is an example of most of the things I've talked about here set up in Content Snare. So there's that headline example. This is a client view, so it's as simple as possible. We can see the headline with some instructions and a box to type it in, and limiting it to 200 characters, and a little navigation on the right-hand side where they can jump between sections. So if it's a long page, that it becomes a bit easier to navigate. Yeah, so obviously that's pretty much it. With if you want to do a demo, I can show you some more, but that's all I was planning on showing.
I think a quick demo might be quite cool.
Okay, cool. And just this is pretty much my last slide here anyway, that this is what it all comes down to, is don't make me think, right? So this is the making your clients think is how to if they don't have to think, you're going to get content back faster. It's as simple as that. The less stuff they have to do, the better it's going to be for you.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of that rang absolutely true. I bet you that everybody who watches this has got some kind of proprietary made-up system of their own where all the parts are just hanging together with threads. I know that I do, and if I have to explain my process to somebody else, it's nigh on impossible. I'm an absolute freelancer. It's me, and if I subcontract out work, I've got to explain my process, and it can be a real pain in the neck, frankly. So yeah, let's go for it. Let's have a quick look.
Cool. I'll just show you a really, really quick example. And so this is, I've come into Content Snare, I've just created a new request, and this is the screen you see. This is actually getting a revamp, so hopefully this isn't too outdated too fast.
But we're good, really, it's good that you're saying that.
Yeah, because it's we're really simplifying this view, because at the moment we feel the web designer's view of Content Snare is a little bit too complex. Some people love it, some people find their way through it, but some people find it a little bit complex. So we're going to simplify this quite a bit. The client view is also getting simplified, but it's already much simpler than this. But this is that template thing we're talking about. So you could have a standard 4-page website you've set up before. Gotcha. And if I click that, it'll pull in that whole site that I've done before. So we're just going to give it a name and a client and a project.
So is this is the overall page? This is like the first page of your usage of Content Snare. This is like setting up a project that would be assigned, in this case, to a website.
Yeah. So when you first come in, you do end up on this request page, which is, I just didn't show that because I've got so many demo projects. Yeah. But this would be empty for you, and you just click the add new request button, and this is exactly what you'd see.
Okay.
So what we've actually got here is some built-in instructions. So a little video to show clients how to use the system and an image. But we always recommend people setting this up with their own, like making a quick Loom video. If you want to, that's like Loom is an epic tool for recording quick videos for your clients. You could personalize it to their specific website. It'll take you 5 minutes to do, not even that. You can actually probably see my tabs up there. So that's my Loom button. I hit that. Yeah, and start recording, and and then like just paste that link in here. Yeah, you can actually embed videos. Your Loom doesn't allow embedding, I don't believe. So if you had a YouTube video, you could embed it in here as well as images. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we recommend, and I'll show you where those show up shortly, those request instructions. And now we get into tabs. So again, this is changing. We're going to move tabs to a sidebar here, which are going to be like a page list, like a tree view for pages.
Good plan.
Yeah. So tabs are going because obviously if you have too many tabs, too many pages, then we're going to start running into the next line, and it's a bit ugly. So
it's going to be like a Windows Explorer kind of click on here and see what's beneath it approach.
Yeah. I don't want to relate it to Windows Explorer.
No, that was a bad idea.
love it. But yeah, so you can see there's the save as template. So you can save that page as a template or that section as a template. Same as the full request, so the full website. But yeah, so if I add a new section here, I'm going to use a template. So these are ones that we've already got built in. So if I want to put in a hero header with a opt-in, that's going to pull in an example that I've created earlier. Delete that. So these are actually built into Content Snare, right? These are, we'll just call this header. So every account has these built in, and we've got some instructions there on why a header is so important, the wireframe, and then all those fields. So a headline with some instructions and the link to the guide and a subheadline, blah, blah, blah. Right. So actually, I will quickly take you through here. So we've got an image that's below the text in that wireframe where they can upload some images. We've limited the image size. And we can limit aspect ratios and stuff if that's important. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Then we've got the background image. And now if I wanted to add another section like a content, this random little content section that I like with an offset thing. And then I'm going to add a footer. So we've just got a few simple content pieces there. So a header, a content section, and a footer. So if I publish this,
I suppose a good way to describe what you've just done is it's like building a gravity form, isn't it? In that the back end and the front end don't have the same purpose. The back end is to construct the form, and the front end is for those to fill it out. And
that's right.
The form, and we're about to see, I guess, what the filling out of
the form
that's
would right be. And that's exactly it. Like, it is kind of like a gravity form in that way, but we are planning on simplifying it a little bit more to make it more obvious what the client's going to see.
Okay.
Yeah, so how that looks yet, I'm not sure. We've got some ideas, kind of like maybe a Google Forms type thing, how when you click on a field, it actually expands into an edit mode. So you actually see the client view until you click on a field, and then it kicks into like a special view, maybe.
Okay. All right. That's interesting.
That's my idea anyway. But yeah, so we copied that link. By default, we share without a login. If you've got sensitive data, you can make it so that your client has to log in. And if you untick that, then it will ask them to create an account. And yeah, so I'm going to hit publish, open a incognito window. And this is your client view, assuming I didn't do that too early before. Yep, no, it's published. Oh, I clearly messed something up there. Oh no, what have I done?
What's missing?
The header's in the wrong order.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's oh gosh, I've just published, right? So oh god. That's really good. Live demo. It's great. Unless I added that, maybe I added it at the wrong spot. But anyway, I'll just quickly show you. So if I go down to that header, we can see the instructions, the screenshot, the headline. So this is where your client would type in stuff, and when they're done, they just click tick, and we get a nice little tick. And eventually we get ticks everywhere.
The ticking process is the client kind of, it's like their to-do list. It's like, here's, okay, I've done that. And it's dead obvious because I've got a great big tick somewhere. Yeah.
That's right. And the reason we do that is because this is all saving on the fly. So you can see that all changes saved there. So they don't have to worry that, if they run out of time now, they just close this window and it's all going to be saved, right?
Yep,
so they can.
Yep. And this links into your little autoresponder thing that you mentioned earlier, where it can alert them to you haven't quite finished this, come back later.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a follow-up sequence. By default, we just sort of, as a joke, I created an aggressive follow-ups for some clients. But by default, we just say email. When it's published, we send this particular email 5 days before the due date. We send. If not all the fields are completed, then we send a reminder email. And you can customize all of these email reminders. So if I go back here to email templates, here's a basic reminder email. And, it's got
the usual merge tags and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to talk about.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's really cool that you've got some nice plans in the future. But dwelling on that, the way it works, for the client, basically they come in and fill out some fields that you've predefined with instructions on a SaaS platform. So long as they can remember to paste in a URL or click on a link in an email, they'll go to that page. You've set absolutely everything up, templated it, saved yourself a whole bunch of time. They fill in the fields. And when they've reached a certain threshold or 100%, you get notified to say it's all done. Is that right as well?
Yeah. Well, we generally encourage a more collaborative process, right?
Great.
So actually, talking with your clients, like it's, you can get notified, but it's very rare. I think that actually happens, right? Yeah, it's kind of very unlikely that you would send this off to a client and then magically it will all come back. I always tell people that it's never going to be a magic bullet, because a magic bullet for this doesn't exist. It's all about making it easier for both you and your client. That's what it comes down to.
I do like the idea of making the Loom video at the beginning in order to demonstrate the UI, because that's going to be always the problem, isn't it? Is the client kind of trying to figure out, where do I put stuff? And is this for me? Am I writing the right text? Does it feel right? And then there's the option for you when the client submits content, there is an option for you to reject it and send it back and say, this is, this is not what we're after. Or
that's right. Yeah. So there is that option where you can say, look, no, that's not correct. And then they'll get an email and a message to say this, and it'll be highlighted inside the interface to say, look, we need some changes here.
Okay.
So, and eventually that's going to be more, even more collaborative as well. So actually being able to comment backwards and forwards and that. So we have a lot of plans for this tool, obviously.
So where can we're obviously looking at a deal on the screen, but before we get to that, what's the URL of Content Snare? I know we'll probably just Google Content Snare, but it's good to know.
It is just contentsnare.com, which I think you almost have to have a domain like that these days.
And if somebody wants to ask you questions about Content Snare before they go ahead and purchase, where can we find you?
If you just go to contentsnare.com, there's actually a little chat icon that comes up. You can talk to me there, or just email james@contentsnare.com. I'm happy for you to shoot me an email there as well.
Okay. We're going to share this video I'll put it on YouTube and in the WP Build Facebook group. But if you watch this before the 30th of September 2018, there's a coupon code on the screen, WPB, standing for WP Builds, SEP for September, WPB, SEP.
Probably should have made it easier.
Off all plans. Is that sort of like a one-hit thing, or does that roll over, or do you offer?
Yeah, no, that's permanent. That's it's a permanent 30% off if you get on that.
Very cool. Oh wow, yeah. That's great. Thank you very much.
No worries.
We've got no questions coming in, so I think we'll probably just knock it on the head, as we say in my part of the world. There you are. There's James.
Absolutely. If you want to get in touch, contact me on Twitter or Instagram. That's probably where I'm, I want to say most active, but also in that Facebook group there at the bottom, csnare.com/group.
That's a great group. That Facebook group is really good. I go there at least 2 or 3 times a day. You know how Facebook algorithmically works out what you want, and so it just sends you those emails. My email inbox is full of your group.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is. At least 3 or 4 a day coming.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. And what's this pink thing on the right?
That's my new podcast.
Yeah.
Agency Highway.
Go on. Have a moment.
Oh, no, that's it. Just search your podcast app for Agency Highway. I like to interview people. And you know what? This is one of those things where I'm like, podcast is a funny medium because you put out all this content and you never know how people are receiving it. You just get your download numbers and that's it. But recently, quite a few people have reached out to say how much they love it. And I've got some really nice comments. So I actually feel like maybe it's helpful for people.
Yeah, it is. It's a silo, isn't it? You put a lot of effort in, and usually you don't find out too much in return, but it's a nice thing when you do, isn't it? It's lovely.
Yeah, it's been great. So if you're interested in learning more about running a digital agency and growing your business and automating things, we cover all kinds of topics. So
yeah, it's not just WordPress, is it? It's like basically running a agency business. What are you on now? You on episode 9 or 10 or?
Oh geez, I think 15's gone live, but I've recorded up to like 24, so
yes,
I'm quite ahead at the moment.
Yeah, you're like me. I like to do it that way as well.
Yeah.
Okay, James, nice one.
Awesome.
I'm going to click the button which was going to stop recording this thing, and I will speak to you very soon. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nathan.
Bye.
Bye.